Awesome. I have a couple of cookies that I was just presented with here. They're very well decorated, attractive cookies, apparently from the Secretary of the Agriculture, Kent Leonhardt's office, and a book called Wingmen, which ties John Glenn and Ted Williams together, a book by Adam Lazarus, presented to me by Mr. Stephen Catlett, Mr. Eddie Gochenour. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Steve, the cookies, did you partake in a few of these?
I did not. I had enough willpower not to. I ate fruit and vegetables, but I brought those cookies just for you, Rob.
Are we buying that, Bill?
No, we're not. No, we're not.
I swear under oath.
You taking the oath a second time? Is his left hand, do the fingers crossed on his left hand there, Bill?
No, Steve is an honorable man. He says something we believe.
They were too pretty to eat.
Yeah.
I mean,
They are. Look at these. Good-looking cookies here. The decorations on like gold flake icing there, right?
Yeah.
Eddie, were you at the inauguration as well?
No, I was not. I didn't have the opportunity to go.
All right, Steve, what are your thoughts on the inauguration itself?
It was a great experience. I'm glad I was there.
Was it your first one?
It was, and since it's the first governor from this part of the state,
Right.
I thought it was kind of neat to see history made. And but I was really impressed with the dignity of it all and how well it was, set up. It was a great ceremony. And then, of course, we had a breakfast before that, a prayer breakfast. And then later in the day, there was stuff all day long, and I went to the dinner that night. And a great band there at the dinner. They brought a group in from Atlanta, Georgia, playing all Motown stuff.
That'd been a big hit.
That was just perfect for me. The 70s music was the greatest music ever. And so it was a fun time. HD and John and I were down, and we hung out a lot together. And but the Davison brothers were there out in the lobby with the fireworks before the meal, and then inside. And I had a relationship with them because over the years at Parks and Rec, we booked them several times for concerts and all, and they put on a good show as well. So, but it was a great experience. And
How big is the inauguration? I mean, how far in advance do you have to get hotel rooms? Are they all booked?
Well, you could get them a week ahead. There's enough hotels in Charleston now, but the thing that really blew me away was how many people attended the dinner that night. I thought it was going to be maybe 500 or 600 people. Formal black tie. There was like over 2,000 people there at the dinner. So
Wow. Is that right?
that just kind of caught me off guard.
And where was it again, Steve?
It was at the Coliseum, they call it now. It used to
Yeah.
be called the Civic Center, but now they call it the Coliseum. So, but it was there, and I was talking to some of the kind of people that were working the dinner, and they said we were set up for 1,700 people and had over 2,000
And more attended.
Now, John Hardy brought in a picture of him in his tux, in his formal.
Okay.
Do you have a picture of you with your tux?
I do not.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I did have a very nice outfit on there with my black tie, and first time I had worn one in about 20 years. So, yeah, but it was fun. It was great, and my highlight on the inaugural day, I got to shake the governor's hand after the breakfast. He went by, and I congratulated him. And then later in the day, after the inauguration, I ran into Joe Manchin out on the street, and he and his wife, and I got to talk to him and shake Joe's hand and wished him best of luck in his endeavors, whatever that may take him.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked Senator Manchin. And then Rich Rod came by, and I shook his hand and wished him luck with the. So I had a pretty good day on shaking hands there. It was pretty good. So
That's great. Well, it sounded like a big day.
it was. It was fun.
Eddie, you've recently been voted as the president of the Berkeley County Commission. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Steve is your vice president.
Yes, sir.
Does that work in the way that you pick the vice president, or does the second vote getter become the vice president automatically? How does that work?
No, they're each separate, nominated and elected on separately.
Okay, very good. Why did you want to be president?
Well, it gives me another opportunity to grow. I'm certainly available, and I'm very engaged. So it gave me an opportunity to try and lead from that position.
4 years you've been on the commission now?
Yes, sir.
4 years. And Steve, you're starting your third?
Sorry, my third. Yes, sir.
And why did you want to become the vice president?
Well, I was honored to be nominated, and I wouldn't say I'm going to work any harder because both of us have been working really hard at the position, and so there will be a few added responsibilities, but not that many. And so we're used to being involved, and I just want to be involved. I enjoy the heck out of being involved and being informed of what's going on. It's great, and we're going to do our best to do what's best for Berkeley County. That's our goal. So, and honestly, we appreciate the past 2 years that Jim Whitaker was president. He did a good job, and we appreciate that. And Jim actually nominated both of us for the position. So
I really appreciated that.
Yeah,
I thought that was a class act, and there's never been any animosity amongst us about who's going to be the president or vice president. That doesn't happen. We're better than that, and Jim, had shown an interest in, after Doug had left, and we absolutely supported that. And last year, we supported it once again. And through our conversations throughout the year, I think Jim saw that we were both available because we're there almost every day, and if not, we're in contact every day. So it was kind of the natural thing.
Well, the two of you are retired officially, and Jim still works his company, correct?
That's true. Yeah, but still, like throughout the day, there's Gary or Chad may reach out and have a question or a problem or a problem with a different department head or whatever, and he just wants either wants to let you know what's going on, or he wants an opinion of how we solve this. So,
well, talk a little bit about the role of the president and vice president. How is it different than just being a commissioner, which is a big role in its own?
Well, there's not a whole lot of difference, truthfully. The president, obviously runs the meetings, and we have a very open policy. And that's the way this needs to be. There is nobody any better than anybody else, and everybody's vote is equal to everybody else's. So that openness is really important for the leadership to share. That hey, you got something you want to bring to us, bring it. Let's talk about it, and let's get it on the agenda, and get it accomplished. So. And having the ability to also cooperate with other agencies, that's really important to me, and Steve, because we're really entwined in this community and have been for a long time. So it's important for us to be an active player, an active partner. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, I get to sign some of the documents, whether it's litigation or it's a contract, all those type of things. It's signed by the president.
But Eddie, you said something a second ago that I think is very important. That the commission works on trust and like and respect. And there's no animosity. And looking back, as far as my knowledge of the Berkeley County Commission, that's always been the case. That is not true with some of our adjacent counties, where there's a lot of friction within the county commission. We have not had that in Berkeley County. And I knowing you folks, I think that's going to continue. You work well with each other, you respect everybody, and they respect you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning. Even though I'm 67 years old, I'm still learning, and I pay attention to what goes on around us and how things work and what's not working. And I don't want to see ourselves in a contentious position like our colleagues in Jefferson were. And that's embarrassing, and that's.
And we had the same problem in Morgan a few years or so ago.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with at that time, but I think that the citizens deserve better than that. Exactly. So when you take a real hard stand on something, and it's detriment to everybody, then you need to take a step back and refocus. So that's what we are.
You have an opportunity here with a governor from the Eastern Panhandle to get the ear of a person who understands what the cost of living is in this part of the state. And that's a big issue when it comes to many of the jobs in this area, including teachers, firefighters, state troopers. We, I understand, have a hard time fulfilling our quota of state troopers because too many of them don't want to have to move here. It's too expensive.
Can't afford to live on their salary.
Yeah. What do you think in terms of getting the process in place to get the governor's ear on maybe getting a little sympathetic legislation here, Steve?
Well, we certainly have a lot of hope because he's from here and he understands our problems. And I don't think the rest of the state, whether they understood it or not, they didn't care to understand it. And even though we are the growing part of the state, we are growing so fast that we are very unique and have a lot of problems that most counties don't have. And it's going to be nice to be able to go to the governor's staff and the governor himself and express ourselves to him, and he'll understand where we're coming from, whether it's the roads that need more attention, obviously. Public safety is our number one concern. And then, coming from me, quality of life's a big issue. You know, as we continue to grow as fast as we are, if we don't maintain the quality of life along with that, we want people to come here, but we want people to want to live here and enjoy living here, and that's a very important part of it. And then, of course, economic development with our development authority and bringing in commercial growth and all is a big deal too. So, but he understands that, and I think he's going to help us. I really do in those directions. Because, quite honestly, I felt like we've been ignored the 2 years that I've been on the commission by the state. And
Ignored in what way?
well, just in every aspect. When it comes to roads and all, we go down to the Department of Highways and sit in there and talk to them for 2 hours, and it's like, no response, no attention.
I understand Jimmy Riston has stepped aside or been removed one way or the other. I'm not sure. As the head of the Department of Highways, there'll be a new person in.
That's true. I got a text last night and again this morning about that. So, and I think that will be a positive thing, hopefully, for the Panhandle here. I really believe that.
Yeah, quality of life, infrastructure, all important. This comes back to both your arguments that we need a 1% sales tax.
Absolutely.
And that's, you've always proposed that would be done by a referendum. You would not do it yourself, it'd be done by a referendum. And you've also made the argument that the 1% sales tax would bring in money from folks passing through the area, so it would not be just all on the backs of the incumbent. I was not surprised, but Chris Andrews, is the new delegate, came out yesterday on the radio and said he was emphatically against it, would be working hard against that. Have you talked to Delegate Andrews on this?
We have. We had our legislative summit, a few weeks back, and he was there, and others, and John Kump's another one that said he wouldn't support that. I mean, Larry Kump. Yeah. And Larry and I are friends. I've known Larry for a long time. But you know what? I respect their opinion, and you have to. They're elected officials, and I respect that. But I think they're wrong. I mean, to me, as an elected person, I think the most important thing for us in our job, and I would think as a state delegate or legislative senator, is public safety for your community. And is there anything more important than that? No. And if we could get the 1% sales tax, we have said we will put a resource officer in every school in Berkeley County with that money. We're going to hire more deputies. We're going to hire more firefighters, and we're going to protect this public and make it the safest place in the state.
But to me, the most important thing, the voters would decide.
Exactly.
It would be through a statewide, countywide referendum.
But it only needs to be, Bill. The important thing is a simple majority vote and not a 60% vote if we were to run an excess levy. And, we have other options. We could run an excess levy, or we could even raise the tax rate. But who pays for that? Just the property owners, the taxpayers.
Yeah. There's
100% of it.
There's lots of things.
So we'd rather have another option
that we're going to consider on this. Number one, we have there won't be enough fingers to go around this county if we have a major incident in one of our schools. That's a true incident. There won't be enough fingers to point why this happened. So we're trying to be out on the tip of the spear and secure the funding to be able to assist the school system in securing our buildings. It's unconscionable for a child or a teacher to go to that school and not feel safe. I didn't feel that way when I went to school. That was a very safe place for me to be. It concerns me that we found ourselves in this position in this world, and we're trying to find a way to fix it. Delegate Andrews does not have that responsibility, or if he does, he doesn't shoulder it quite the way we do. Delegate Andrews does not have the same responsibility or doesn't shoulder it the way we do about getting in the ambulance at 3 o'clock in the morning, getting a fire truck at 3 o'clock in the morning when our staff today is maybe not available or whatever. Those responsibilities, I feel, are ours. So
ours as county commissioners, do you mean specifically?
There's nobody else that's going to fix this problem other than us. And he can stand there and say, I'm absolutely against it. Okay, sir, that's your opinion, that's your vote. We're going a different direction than he is. And I'm not sure I could ever talk long enough or loud enough to ever get him to understand our responsibilities morally, if not legally. We've got 68 deputies on the books. Currently, we only have 62 working. They're down a couple right now. But we only have 12 state troopers on the road in this county. And they are some of the finest men I've ever met in my entire career. Those guys in green, they're tough. The guys in the black and the gray, they're top notch. So we if the state is not going to put the resources here, then we have to. It's not fair to our deputies to be out on the road handling these calls a lot of times on their own, going different places by themselves, or one or two guys at a time. It's not safe for them, and we have to prioritize our safety. And another thing that's not necessarily with the safety thing, but it's a crawl in everybody in this county is the rain tax. We say we can absorb the rain tax off of this 1% tax and do away with the rain tax, and we'll pay for it out of that. So right there, somebody would have to spend $4,200 in goods to equal that. So, we're not only looking at being able to provide additional resources and services to this county, we're finding a way to reduce fees and taxes. And if we find that, hey, we can do more, then we will. But I can tell you, our focus has got to be on public safety.
And I'll come back to the fact that it's going to be the public would decide this. You'd make your case, and the public would vote either thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yes, sir.
That's important part.
Yes, sir.
And you and I have discussed this, Eddie, I think probably offline more than online. I think public safety across the line is important, and I think it's easy to point at SROs in schools because obviously that's the tragedy of tragedies. My focus in the county, and where I'm going to come from, is we don't have nearly enough fire stations. And when you're looking at, I think I'm looking at 11 or 12 minute response time to my house, we'll be dead, or you'll be putting a basement out in where I live, which is fine. I mean, it's not fine, but that's what I bought into. But that's one of the big problems. We don't have water here, and that's fine. It's tanker operations. We do have problems in terms of public safety, but I think some of the bigger issues we have deal with fire and rescue more than.
And this will help fix that too, though.
Well, it will, but in terms of marketing, passing amendments to the Constitution, all this, there's a marketing challenge to this, is to getting people to buy into it. And I would urge the not just you, for the political class in general, to focus on real issues instead of we need public safety, to talk about the need for, we have this many responses and this is the response time. If we have this much money, then we can reduce the response time to this.
They've actually done that, John.
I've lived here for 3 years and I've never heard any of it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm dialed in to this stuff. So I'm just saying, this is not a criticism. This is a suggestion to sell it.
John, we've had those conversations, and currently we have 5 volunteer fire departments in the county that we operate out of, and there's 3 substations. They don't get quite as much activity, but out of those 5. I think in the future that we need to do a GIS study and figure out response times and where certain pieces of equipment need to be located. We need to once we get through this public safety building, because we're going to build hopefully a beautiful public safety building on the north end there at Spring Mills on Brown Road, where we will house police, fire, EMS, and a dispatch center as a redundancy to our 911 center. So those opportunities are coming, but I would like to see us expand for the future to be able to locate new facilities that will house perhaps just an ambulance and a fire truck. That's it. No bingo halls, no kitchens,
Right.
no major commercial kitchen. Just a 2-bay facility struck throughout different locations.
Like
in the
satellite
county.
locations,
Yes, sir.
basically.
Yeah. So to improve that response time greatly. But a GIS study needs to be done to be able to show those movements.
Yeah,
Right.
Going back to John's point, I think the standard is something like 8 minutes to respond to a call. In certain parts of the county, we're up to 12 to 14 minutes a couple of years
Yes.
ago. So we're not meeting standards.
Yeah, we're not.
That's when the apparatus leaves the bay. You got to get the personnel to the bay. And
Well, we're working real hard on that.
I know you are.
Yeah,
I know you are.
And there's no other county in the state of West Virginia that's doing what we're doing, and I'm very proud of that because
with the paid personnel in the
yes,
firehouse.
sir.
Yeah.
We just worked an agreement with the fire board. First time that they've been able to help us with staffing. So we're going to be hiring 9 additional firefighters. We will have 4 of our 5 stations staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with 2 firemen. It's not quite enough, but it gets us started. We still need staffing in Back Creek Valley, and we're working on it. As a matter of fact, we met yesterday about it. So we're all in. I mean, we're digging and trying to flip every rock we can to make sure that folks get the response that they need.
And here's the important thing. You have to have a source of revenue before you go out and hire firefighters, more deputies, school resource officers. You have to have a steady source of income to pay those salaries and wages year after year. And if you put the 1% in, that's the steady source. And as the population grows, that'll grow with it. And so it's a guaranteed funding source to hire these people that we need. And that, we're not asking the state to raise your taxes. Just give us the ability to govern ourselves in our own county, to make our county the safest place in West Virginia at our expense. You know, if the people don't like what we're doing, they can vote us out of office. We're not asking you to raise the taxes at the state level, and we're not asking you for any funding to help with this. Just give us the ability to govern ourselves and put this in place.
Sounds like you're addressing the legislature, the local legislature with that point, Steve.
I am. I do it all the time. We do it all the time. Yeah. We did at our meeting, you know. We're just begging you. Give us the ability to govern ourselves. And, you know, I went to one of Governor Morrissey's town halls before, when he was running for office, and he spoke for 45 minutes, and 35 minutes of it he spoke about the federal government and how his job as Attorney General is trying to get the federal government out of state government. So after the thing, he came over and spoke to me, and we talked for about 10 minutes, and I said, you know, Patrick, I said, there's a good chance you could be our next governor. And I said, remember this. I said, the counties feel the same way about the state that you do about the federal government. And just give us the ability to govern ourselves, and that's all we're asking you.
And just a note to our audience, Eddie and Steve will be staying with us the full hour here. There's obviously a lot to cover. And being as that the 1% sales tax has been brought up, there is reaction in our commenting section. We'll get to some of those reactions coming up in the back half of this break here too, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew that you folks are staying with us the full hour. We're going to cover a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, and the other thing on that 1 cent and the vote is, you know, our state legislature won't even allow our citizens to vote on this. Yeah. That's what's really frustrating.
Hey, stay where you are. We're going to be right back with more with Eddie Gochenour, the new president of the Berkeley County Commission, and Steve Catlett, the vice president of the Berkeley County Commission. The studio with the president of the Berkeley County Commission, Eddie Gochenour, the vice president, Steve Catlett. Gentlemen, thank you for staying the whole hour with us today.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the 1% sales tax, and Bill brought up the fact that Delegate Chris Anders, 100% opposed to it, said no way he would support that. The delegates I've spoken with from the Eastern Panhandle have ranged from not going to support it to will only support it if it's done in a referendum style. And as they are all Republicans, I would expect that to be as much concession as you're going to get on that issue. In our audience, in the comments section, the first thing that comes up with you needing extra money is start first by getting rid of the paid lobbyist. And the cost most closely associated with that contract is $200,000 per year. Eddie made the comment, or maybe it was Steve, my apologies, earlier in the interview that you felt like for the last 2 years you really haven't been represented. And I think it was Ken Mattson who seized on that comment to say, after spending $400,000 to ensure representation, that doesn't sound good, that you would say something like that. So let's talk about that expenditure to the lobbyist, and is that an expense that you can do without if you're looking to save some money in the budget and add revenue to it so you can afford SROs and more paid firefighters?
Well, I tell Ken to do the math. You know, last year, because I had tried previously, the 4 years previous, to speak with our delegation about impact fees. Nobody wanted to touch it. It was something nobody wanted to talk about, and I wasn't successful even in my own personal conversations with our legislative body. We put it on our priority list to have this conversation. I had zero hope that this bill was going to pass. She got it passed. We didn't.
She being
did.
Summer Barrett.
Summer Barrett Access Strategies. That's who got this bill passed. That will bring millions of dollars, of new dollars into this county, supported by the growth that we've never, ever had that opportunity to get before. So, last year or year before last, there was a jail bill. That jail bill saved us nearly $350,000 that first year. Now, the jail bill is creeping back up on us because of our growth. Once again, it wasn't a one-time fix, and we're done with that. And number one, I don't think we should have that bill. I truly don't. I think that that's the state's bill. They should be paying it, not putting that burden on the county residents. That's just my position on that. I don't know how far I'll ever get with it, but I've had those arguments or discussions with the Secretary of Corrections. I've participated in a interim hearing with the legislature via Zoom to discuss our jail bill. So, we're fighting on all battles. I mean, on all fronts. That's, Steve and I are probably, and I think that John's going to be very active in these discussions to be able to get some of this stuff accomplished. But if we're not out here battling for it, it's not going to happen. We've asked for the impact fees for a number of years. We finally got it. We're going through that process right now. We've hired a company to do the study to see what, who will be the recipients of those funds, how much those funds need to be, and then it will be the commission's decision to determine what that amount is set at and who gets what at the end of the day. They will set the perimeters. We'll have to work within them. But all of our, as we spoke, public safety agencies are struggling with the growth. Parks and Rec is struggling with the growth. Our school systems are. So, I anticipate all of these agencies being a recipient of some of those funds. And that will be, I project, because we're building in this county anywhere from 12 to 1,400 new homes. That does not count the commercial development that's happening here. But if you just do the math, it's going to be millions of dollars.
Steve?
I just want to say this. When I ran for office, thought it was a lot of money, too, for lobbyists. I said, why can't we talk to our own legislators? But when I went to Charleston the last 3 years now, I see it in working, in action, and it's paying off for us. She gathered $25 million for the water district my first year down there that we wouldn't have got otherwise. The impact fee is going to be a tremendous thing. And here's the problem. You take all the legislators in Berkeley County, it's not enough to pass a vote down there. So what she does is talk to all the other delegates and senators around the state of West Virginia to get this to cross the finish line. And that's the key. We can't talk to all those people, and we can't be there enough to do that. And so that's where the role is more, not with our own delegation, but with those in the rest of the state to get a bill passed. And believe me, it's a game, and she works really hard at that, and she knows how to work it, and it's worked for us. So I've seen it work, and I've seen, for a couple $100,000, dividends have been tremendous. And,
some of the folks in our audience feel that should be your job, and it should be the Eastern Panhandle delegation's job to convince those folks to vote for these things.
Yeah, and it is part of our job. It's if we're lucky, we'll be able to get to the legislature probably 3 different times this year. Steve is a member of the County Commission Association. He's one of the board of directors. I try to attend those meetings as well. Gary on occasion will attend, maybe HD, and I think that John will be an active participant. Mr. Whitaker attended our last seminar that we had. So, especially like the first of the year, that's our very busy time of the year. That's when we're working our budgets. We're hearing all the presentations. Our review of the board of review is going on, along with all the other committees that we're already on. So, we'll work. We're not lazy, but sometimes because this place is 4.5, 5 hours away, it's difficult to get there, in that time period.
Eddie, John Gilstrap earlier mentioned one of the jobs was marketing, compelling, convincing. How do you counter the argument that you've got the impact fees? Why do you need the 1% sales tax in addition to the impact fees?
The impact fees, number one, can't be used for salaries. I mean, that's the big kick right there.
It's a one-time expense.
Exactly. And the impact fees cannot be used to replace anything. So if we have a fire engine that's on its last leg, we can't use it to replace it. We can only replace it with something that we don't have, or a need that it persists because of the growth. The school system, for example, they would not be able to buy school buses with it unless they add on additional routes because of the growth. They have to be able to prove the need is because of the growth.
Prove to whom?
To honor the code that sets up that you have to follow to use these impact fees legally. So it's mandated, and like I say, you can't use it for salaries and benefits. And the other thing about it is it's also a rubber ball, because the impact fees one year may be really well. What happens if an 08 hits again and then it's down here? But you've hired all these people. You can't do it.
Yeah.
The sales tax is a whole different animal. It stays a steady source of revenue, and it only grows. It doesn't drop with the population. It's never going to drop.
And again, coming back to sales tax, people tend to personalize any tax that they're going to be carrying the burden. But one of the beauties about the sales tax is that it collects from a population much greater than what we have here in Berkeley County.
Absolutely, especially being on the 81 corridor. Yeah. The folks that jump off the interstate, to stop at Rocks and Sheets and all these places, or stop at Walmart, wherever. I worked in the city of Martinsburg for 32 years. I know a lot of people in the city and throughout the community. Never have I one time ever heard anybody complain about the city having that 1 cent sales tax. It's a moot point, so it's a penny on a dollar. I'm sorry that Ken, I don't know where he shops. Obviously he may not shop in the city of Martinsburg because of that 1 cent tax, but it is not that taxing of an endeavor when you can prove the need of what you want to use the funds for. They will be the first ones to complain when a deputy doesn't show up at their house, when they don't get a fire truck in time, when something terrible happens in our schools. These will be the same people that complain because we didn't have the people to be there to take care of the job.
But Eddie, that's the constant, is the fact we know that there are going to be slow response times, and we know that it's difficult to get these services. And just playing devil's advocate here, it's not just a 1 cent tax along the 81 corridor. There's a lot of Berkeley County that is not along 81. So it's a 1 cent sales tax on everything in Berkeley County. So if it were just an 81 sales tax, or if we check ID for out-of-state people to pay the 1 cent sales tax, you would have no problem getting this passed, right? So it does affect everybody who lives in Berkeley County, and it's another 1 cent tax on top of existing
John,
taxes.
It's not going to add another penny to the city. It's going to stay at 7 cents.
Right.
We're just asking to be equal.
Yeah.
And the city's taking in $7 million a year now from that 1 penny, and they're providing services for 18,000 people. We don't have any other municipality in Berkeley County, and we're providing services for 6 times as many people, 118,000 people. And we don't have the ability to use that tax to provide those services.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing against the sales tax. I'm
But
saying
also,
that,
there's no tax on food either, on groceries.
Yeah.
So
Does Hedgesville have the 1 cent sales tax, Steve?
They did not. They did not.
It's a leverage aspect, John. Nobody's saying that every resident of the state is not going to assume part of that, but you're leveraging another population.
right.
So we get rid of the lobbyists, save $200,000. That's going to hire maybe not even 3 firefighters or 3 deputies.
Oh, the lobby. I'm putting lobbyists in a different bucket.
Though, but I'm trying to put it in perspective. We need a lot of money to hire these people, but we need a steady source of income, and that's the best answer. Now we have an alternate. That is to raise the tax rate, and of course we'd all get voted out of office. But if we get pushed in a corner, that's our other option. But the only people that pay that are the homeowners and the property owners in Berkeley County. And we don't think that's fair to them. And we don't want to do that.
How about we go to the other way? It seems the common denominator to all of this is growth. Sure. That's the source of our problems and the source of our benefits here are all about growth. How about we slow down growth?
How?
I don't know. That's the question. Is that possible? Is there a way to pump the brakes and just say, no, you can't build that housing development?
We should have thought of that before Gilstrap moved into Berkeley County.
No, we're closing the door after me. I'm here. I got mine. No, actually, there's a comment on the Facebook page here that I thought was kind of interesting, that you put stuff up for a vote that, well, the new people are not native West Virginians. The new people are all from out of state. So somehow my vote in this would be somehow less valuable than the votes of people who have grown up here, which I think is a specious argument, obviously. But I guess my question is, growth is the constant, right? We can't pump the brakes on that.
But we've tried that over the years, and in one way is through the zoning. Even though I'm not convinced zoning was anti-growth, it's just kind of influence where growth.
Well, I think
would
zoning,
be.
Jefferson County is showing that zoning doesn't work all that well either.
Well, and the other thing is, a lot of people, every time I go out, somebody talks to me about growth, and I'm like, tell me how we stop it. You tell me. I haven't figured it out.
Okay.
If our water district says, yes, we can supply water to you, and our sewer district says, yes, we can provide sewer to you, because that's where the high density housing. If the Department of Highways says, yes, we can let you on our state road, the Berkeley County Commission and the Berkeley County Planning Commission, unless it's a true health and safety issue, they don't have any other say. Other than that, you're going to circuit court, and I feel pretty sure you're going to lose.
Is there some kind of a fee we can put on water and sewer?
Well, they have that.
We have that.
They have a
more
capacity.
fee on water and sewer, because that's the high density stuff, right?
It's increasing. It's increasing over the next.
They can
5
then
years.
go to fire and rescue,
And
and
it's called capacity improvement fees, and it's the same as a impact fee, really. It's just named differently. But every water hookup and every sewer hookup now pays a capacity improvement fee for all the growth, and they're getting that back to help the system. So it is working.
But it's limited to helping the system.
It
It
is.
cannot be anything
Right.
else other than that.
Right.
Capacity improvement
Right.
fee.
Steve and Eddie, when a person moves into Berkeley County and ultimately pays their first bill on property taxes, how much time has elapsed before the county gets those tax revenues?
1 year.
1 year?
Yes, sir.
So you're providing services up front, you get paid in arrears on it.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's another bill we've been trying to get passed since I've been on for 3 years, is the rollback tax. Okay, there's a rollback, and I've heard commissioners on your show many times
John
over
Hardy.
the years saying, we rolled back the tax rate. Well, they didn't do it because they wanted to. They did it because they had to, because there's a bill in place that says if you grow over 101%, you got to roll back your taxes. 2 years ago, we grew 109%, our population, and we got to roll back the taxes to 101%, and we lost over $800,000 for our budget that we could have hired people with, okay? And you don't lose it for 1 year, you lose it forever, once you roll it back. So the counties, and the only county that's growing like us is us. And that bill was put in 1990, and in 2 years' time, it did what it wanted to do to balance the assessment across the state. And everybody agrees down there that it needs to go. But we can't. Most people don't understand it, so we can't get it passed. But we're trying desperately because it hurts us. We bring in 3,500 new people, but the taxes they generated, we got to roll it back. So it's of no value to you. Now we have less. We have the same amount of money to serve 3,500 new people.
When a person goes to closing, are there not property taxes that they pay up front as part of that closing?
It's called
Property
transfer tax?
Yeah, right.
And that's the one that John Hardy was trying to get 100% back to the counties.
And it's coming. Okay.
I've been hearing it's coming for 4 years. When does that get to 100%?
Rob, July 1st.
100%?
It's at 50% now, and because at first when they passed it, and John, we worked on this bill long ago.
Right.
Said, how can we help Berkeley County? Well, first of all, $2.20 goes to farmland protection, and that's how we're preserving the farms in the county with that money. It's $2.5 to $3 million a year. The state was keeping the same amount, okay, for themselves, and then the county was at 110. They went to 220 to 330. Well, now we're at 440 because we're getting half that money back. But it's July 1st. We're going to be at 550. Okay, and the hope is that that money's going to come. But the state then won't be keeping any of that money. It'll all stay here in Berkeley County.
And what does that equal to dollar-wise generally on average?
Each $1.10 amounts to about $1 million to $1.25 million a year.
So this could be about $6 million a year?
Yes.
And the impact fees are projected at about how much a year?
Well, the total the farmland protection, about 7 something million.
Now, hold a second. We're getting confused now. The impact fees and the transfer fees are two separate things,
Yes.
and we use them in the same sentence. So they're separate.
I'm just
things.
talking about additional revenue coming
Yeah.
into the
Property
county.
transfer is
We've
what
not,
it is.
we've not landed on the impact fee. figure
Correct.
yet.
You haven't received
Yeah.
a dollar yet.
Haven't received
And,
it.
and we haven't set a dollar amount either.
Correct.
That's going to be charged. So.
You're still in the process of
Yes, sir.
figuring all that out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's understandable. Hey, we've got some questions about Parks and Rec in regards to the county and any improvements that are being made or new parks and such. And do you have any updates or information on that?
Sure
I'm
do.
going to take a step back and let Mr. Parks
Mr.
and Rec-
Parks and Rec
Well,
take that. Yeah.
The first thing I want to say is that I appreciate greatly the city of Martinsburg, Mayor Knowles and Andy Blake and the council for the money they've been investing in our quality of life here in Berkeley County. It's been amazing. The new pickleball courts, the raise grants that's coming in. People are criticizing the raise grants. There's $20 million going to come in to help our trail system and our park system. There's no match to it. It's $20 million from the federal government that we're going to get to spend on quality of life with no match. That's amazing, and they've done a great job. And we're hoping to get in a position to help out more than we are. But one of the things we've been working on is the Inwood Park, of course, and trying to get that started. And we hope to break ground this spring for the new Inwood Park right there in in Inwood, right across from the high school. And that is needed desperately there. And so we're working on that, and we're going to probably invest $4 or $5 million over the next few years in that park, and try to. We've got some grants coming in. We've got a federal allocation coming, and it's going to get started. And I know people have been anxious and hoping to get that going.
Yeah.
But we have to improve. We have to improve our quality of life as this community grows. And if we don't, then shame on us. Shame on us. If people want to come here because the taxes are lower and the homes are cheaper, okay? But when you live here, you want people to come here because they want to live here and recreate here in their own community and have leisure time in their own community. And we got to protect that,
And we're constantly looking, for opportunities to purchase additional parklands. Steve, that's been his whole world. But and we support one another, in this endeavor. That we need another 1 or 2 Poorhouse Farm parks in this county, not just for today, but trying to reach out and see the future to be able to secure those lands when we get the opportunity, with the impact fees. To hopefully we'll be able to secure additional lands for our future parks for children and the everyday citizen to go and enjoy. We saw during COVID the uptick in our park system really went through the roof. People out at Poorhouse Park, it was a good mental health thing for them to be able to get out and enjoy nature. So we're going to continue. We're building a park right now on the north end of the county at Spring Mills. That's a 10-acre park.
What's the expected date of completion on that?
It's close.
This spring.
Yeah.
Spring will be open?
The bathroom is built. The pavilion is in. The walking trail is there. They need to do some paving in the parking lot. I don't know what else. There's a small playground that's there already. So they're very, very close. And it's just a beautiful
Let me say
site.
about that. What's neat about this park is it's also going to be our first ever recognized Civil War battlefield site in Berkeley County, okay? And we've got several other properties we're working on and trying to obtain. And we got a great relationship going with the Shenandoah Valley Battlefield Foundation, and they want to come they want to come into West Virginia, and we're part of the Shenandoah Valley and expose the history here in Berkeley County for the first time. So when people come to Harpers Ferry or Sharpsburg, they're going to make Berkeley County a part of that. Get on their phone app and visit our sites here, and this will be the first ever. It's called the Hoax Run Battlefield.
That's great.
And it was a one-day battle, but it was early part of the history of the Civil War. And there's other sites that need to be recognized as well. So
Is Sportsman's Paradise still an active idea, or is that dead?
Pretty much dead. Unless we can get a decent access into it, it's dead.